The livestock industry has always been intimately connected with our natural resources. The industry itself cannot exist without clean water, clean air, healthy soil, and healthy plants. The Kansas Environmental Management Associates shares that desire to conserve and protect our natural resources, and through that desire has developed advanced technology to improve the environment, increase operating efficiency, and facilitate regulatory compliance. We're here today with Terry Medley, Livestock Waste Section Chief at the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. Terry, can you tell me a little bit about the CAFO reg that was recently passed and the implications that reg had on CAFO compliance?
Since 2003, KILO, a nutrient management plan, has been required for all federal-sized CAFOs. In 2008, after some litigation, it became final. And what that entails is each CAFO has to have enough land base to utilize all the nutrients that they generate at their facility.
So ultimately, the nutrient management plan requirements dictate how much land a facility needs in order to be in compliance with federal regulations.
That's correct, yes.
So alternative technologies such as the Phred system, what role do you see those playing in helping CAFOs comply with these new regulations?
Well, the new regulations have put a lot of facilities in a bind because they don't have enough land to adequately utilize their nutrients. So a system such as Phred will help remove that phosphorus so they can apply more wastewater to their land without overloading it with the nutrients.
Ultimately, the nutrient management regulations require CAFOs to determine how much cropland they need in order to balance the nutrients in their manure with the nutrient removal of the crops growing on the application fields. We typically see phosphorus as the most limiting nutrient for manure application for livestock operations in the High Plains and Midwest. So in the past, if the farm did not have enough land to balance phosphorus, their only option was to find more land, which can be very expensive and sometimes impossible. Phred gives producers a new option. From the beginning, we believed that for a system to be successful at a farm, it had to be simple. That is, there couldn't be a lot of things to go wrong. It had to be robust enough to operate in a harsh environment. It had to produce a byproduct that was useful, preferably valuable. It had to produce a product that could return something to the operation. We also believed that in many cases the system would need to be high volume, be able to process a large amount of water in a short amount of time. Those priorities guided us as we developed Phred. I'm here today with Mike Beltry, General Manager of Supreme Cattle Feeders, location of the first full-scale Phred unit. Mike, how has the nutrient management plan regulations affected your operation?
Nutrient regulations have gotten more stringent each year, and we have to control our nutrients going onto our fields and out of our feed yard.
How do you feel like the Phred system helps you comply with those regulations?
The Phred system is very simple, very easy to use, and it's a on-demand system as you need it.
Do you feel like it gives you more flexibility with implementing your nutrient management plan?
Yes, it will. In the long term, the system will give us a lot more flexibility on what we can do with our ground.
Phred is designed to be operated not by chemical engineers or other specialized personnel, but by typical CAFO personnel. The system is controlled by a programmable logic controller that monitors operating parameters to maintain design settings. And if something goes wrong, the system automatically shuts down. Therefore, a producer can start the system, check on it periodically, and yet feel assured that if there is a problem while he is not there, it will shut itself down. With me is Benjamin Fuentes, Operations Manager for Supreme Cattle Feeders, home of the first full-scale Phred system. Benjamin, you've had the opportunity to operate Phred for a little while now. What's that been like?
Always piece of equipment, kind of easy to handle. I mean, as a matter of fact, we got a couple more guys on the maintenance that been helping with that, and pretty easy, friendly to handle. I mean, I don't see any problem.
Is it something that you feel like with your existing personnel you can easily operate without the addition of specialty folks?
Yeah, I don't think it'd be any problem. I think we can be able to operate without any problem.
We're here today with Gina Becker, lead scientist behind the development of Phred. Gina, could you explain the basic concept behind how Phred works?
Sure. Phred is basically what's called a fluidized bed system. And the chemical process that we're trying to achieve is called precipitation. So wastewater has dissolved phosphorus molecules in it, and we're trying to capture that phosphorus in the form of a solid. So the fluidized bed is a column that we fill with these solid particles, and we run the wastewater into the bottom of the column. The water runs up through the column and exits the top. And this upward motion of the water creates a stirring motion, which really helps facilitate the precipitation process. One of the patented aspects of this is a special top on the column that allows us to capture and retain more smaller particles than we would without this top.
As water flows upward into the column, the struvite granules become fluidized and act as reaction sites for more struvite formation and growth. The water flows upward through the fluidized bed into the settling section at the top of the system. The settling section keeps small particles from escaping the system. Treated water then exits the system and flows to a waste holding pond or to a waste application system. We're here today with Dr. Sigifredo Castro, one of the creators behind the Phred system. Siggy, share a little bit about the principle behind how Phred works.
Well, Phred is a relatively simple system where we feed the column with struvite solid particles. We pump water to it, forcing the water to fluidize the particles. So basically what we do is maintain the particles in solution fluidized, and then we inject the chemical to adjust the pH. Upon raising the pH, then the chemical reaction forcing phosphate to precipitate on these seed particles happens. Over time, more seed particles are produced and the solids build up in the column. So automatically the system releases these particles and repeats the cycle again.
So tell us a little bit about what struvite is.
Struvite is a mineral compound composed of magnesium, ammonium, and phosphate. It is it's not readily soluble in water, and it also is commonly used as a specialty gardener fertilizer. It's a slow release type fertilizer because of this low solubility of the struvite in the water.
So what form of phosphorus does Phred target in the water?
Well, wastewater contains different types of phosphorus, organic and inorganic. Phred targets only the inorganic form known as phosphate or orthophosphate.
The struvite is removed from Phred intermittently and automatically, without interrupting the operation. Unlike many phosphorus removal systems, the phosphorus removed is a true solid, which drains free of water in a manner similar to coarse sand. The struvite, or terraphos as we've named it, breaks down slowly in soil or potting media, and thus is an excellent slow-release fertilizer. For feed yard systems, anhydrous ammonia is typically used to adjust the pH and increase the supersaturation to favor struvite formation. In these scenarios, the initial nitrogen content of the wastewater is low enough that the addition of a little nitrogen does not negatively impact the nutrient management plan. And anhydrous ammonia is readily available in rural areas in bulk quantities and is relatively cheap. However, for many dairies, swine operations, and even some feed yards, the amount of nitrogen in the waste is high enough that they don't want to add additional nitrogen. In these cases, alternative pH adjusters, such as sodium hydroxide, can be used. The Phred system is a powerful tool for recovering phosphorus from livestock operations, and by doing so, can protect our natural resources and facilitate regulatory compliance.